she persisted. The devil intended to pull him down. He didn't get him in the pit. He didn't have him killed through the brothers, but said, now I'll cause him to fall now. But the devil didn't have his way. Joseph, one day when Potiphar's wife grabbed a hold evidently to another coat. Oh, what a story about the two coats. And when Joseph evidently knew that she'd caught a hold of him, he evidently slipped out of his coat, run out of the house, and there she held another one of Joseph's coats. When Potiphar come home, another coat, another line. She said, Potiphar, here's the coat. And evidently it went with his job at Potiphar's house. She said, this Hebrew that you brought into the house, he's tried to shame me to lay with me. Another coat, another lie. Probably, if he'd have been a good Baptist, Joseph would have said, well, if this is the way it is, I'll not have anything else to do with going to church or trying to be a good boy. But thank God, Joseph had something that I don't have a lot of time. And I don't mean in this instant here. When Potiphar took Joseph and put him in prison, he'd been in prison in a pit. He'd been in prison with irons and shackles. And now then he was in the officer's prison. How long he'd been there, I don't know. But things started changing in the prison house. Things started looking better. Things started looking up. And the officer in charge of all the prisoners said, I see something, Joseph, in you that's different to any other man I've ever met. I'm going to put you in charge of everybody in this prison. Brother, no matter what house we're in, if we abide by the rules and obligations and laws of God, God one of these days is going to come and make a change with us. Things in the prison started looking better, looking real good. And then one day there was two more officers from Pharaoh's house thrown into prison. One of them was the chief baker, the other was the chief butler. One night they both dreamed a dream. And the chief butler told about a dream. Joseph said, you men look sad today. You don't look like you normally do. You look sad. What's wrong? The butler said, we dreamed a dream last night, and we disturbed over the interpretation of it. The chief baker told Joseph his dream. The chief butler and baker both told Joseph what they dreamed. One of them said, I saw a vine. It had 3 branches on it. And then it had all kind of batements. Joseph said, this is the interpretation to your dream. 3 days you'll be back with Pharaoh. And then they'll hang you. The baker and the butler, the other one dreamed a dream and said, I also dreamed a dream. And he told it to Joseph. And he said, 3 days you'll be reinstated to Pharaoh and you'll have your position back. But when things go well with you, would you think on me? I don't think that was unreasonable to you. Joseph simply said to the baker, when things go well with you, would you think on me? And bring me out of this place. Because I was sold away from my home. Not guilty of any crime. Been true to God every step of the way. And now then, he had interpreted their dream, and the dreams come true. One had his head hung, took off. The other one's reinstated to his position. And then Pharaoh dreamed a dream. Pharaoh was very disturbed over what he had dreamed. And he told his dream to some men who had authority. Nobody seemed to have any answer for him. And then the chief baker said, "Oh, this day I forgot. I promised a man I'd call his name to you, and I forgot all about him. He's a man I met in prison. Never met a man like him. We both dreamed a dream, and you dreamed a dream. We couldn't find an interpretation to it, but that man is in prison. He told me 3 days I'd be reinstated, and the other man 3 days he'd be hung. And it turned out just exactly like he told us it would. And now you've dreamed a dream, and I remember today of the man that I forgot." Pharaoh had dreamed a dream about 7 cows, well-favored, well-fed, well-fat, no matter. And then he saw 7, probably the most skinniest things you've ever seen in your life. And he saw these skinny cows eat up the fat ones. He didn't mention the effect after that, the dream when it was first mentioned. Then he said, "I saw a stalk of corn that had 7 good ears on it. And then there come up 7 ears that's blasted with the east wind. The 7 blasted ears eat up the 7 good ears." Pharaoh told the dream to them, and they couldn't interpret it. And the man said, "Oh, I have forgot. I forgot a man that told me what I dreamed, said you'd reinstate me in 3 days. And the chief baker, he'd be hung in 3 days. It was just like he said, and all he asked in payment, remember me when it goes well with you, and I forgot." It's been 2 years since that happened. But nobody could answer Pharaoh's dream. And Pharaoh heard about a boy that's in prison. You see how God moved him down to Shechem, moved him over to Dothan, where there was a trade route down to Egypt. Potiphar bought him, brought him into his house, transferred him out of the common prison, put him over in the prison where the king's men stayed when they'd done wrong. 2 men dreamed a dream. Oh, it's just a coincidence. Yeah, but it's God's coincidence. And when those men come and told their story, then Joseph told them what had happened. It come out just exactly like he said it would. Then Pharaoh said, "I'd like you to call that man for me." When they called for Joseph, whatever the facilities was in that day, shaved, cleaned himself up the best that he could. He went in unto Pharaoh, and Pharaoh told him what he could. But Pharaoh added a little more to it than what we had heard. He said them old skinny cows that eat up them well-fed cows, they're just as skinny after they eat them well-fed cows as they was to start with. And them 7 blasted ears, and it's blasted by the east wind. I'm not saying anything vulgar. He said those ears, it was blasted with the east wind. Them